Hey there, friend. Welcome to Cosy Coaching.
Hi, I'm Sinitta, your mindset and confidence coach, and we are getting real about self growth, one late night chat at a time. Let's get into today. Hello, welcome back to another episode of Cozy Coaching. Let's get into today. So, I came with a totally different topic when I was outlining what I wanted to talk about today because I have to prepare for everything. I can't just wing it. As much as I want this to be relaxed, I also want it to have a purpose and a focus so that you can always take something away. So tonight I just want to talk to you about something because just at the weekend we celebrated, and it sounds weird to say we celebrated our mum's first year anniversary, and a day that could have been extremely difficult was actually the best day that I've had so far this year. Well, outside of some other things, but just as a day, as a weekend, as spending time with my family and friends, it felt absolutely incredible. I had the best time, and I just realised just how much support that I've got behind me. So I want to talk about, I want to talk about how I found out that my mum had passed away. So I was toying with the idea of whether I talk about this. I've spoken in parts about it and like things that happened, but not so much like actually what happened. I'm not going to go into so much details, but just from my point of view, because there are other people involved, like my sisters and family and stuff like that. So just from my point of view, what happened, because what I've found in this journey since my mum has passed is that a lot of people just hold their grief to themselves, and when somebody finally opens up or talks about maybe how they're struggling, it opens the doors for other people to say, yeah, me too. And something that happened within our family is that we felt so isolated, like, not that we weren't supporting each other, that's not the right way, like isolated, but it was isolated within us, that our grief was carrying on just within us, and everybody on the outside looked absolutely fine. But what transpired was that actually we were all struggling in our own ways. We just weren't talking about it, and as soon as the doors opened to talk about it, I felt even closer to my family. I felt even more closer to myself, that I could finally breathe, that it wasn't just me that was going through this, and that even though it looked like on the outside that maybe I was okay to other members of my family, it wasn't the case. And once we spoke, we were like, this is what I'm struggling with, this is what happened with me, and it just opened the doors. And I'm hoping with all that rambling that I just done is that this helps somebody else to feel like they're not alone, and that your grief can come in waves and shocks. And what happens is for me especially, is that going back to dealing with my dad's death, is that the grief doesn't get any smaller. Everything around it just gets a little bit bigger. And when the weight of the world is so heavy and everybody else around you is doing fine and the days go on as normal, you kind of can feel like you're alone. So I don't want anybody to feel like they're alone. And this past year has taught me so much. I feel that I have lived 10 years in this last 365 days. I couldn't describe it. So Saturday was just our 1 year anniversary for mum, and we had a sports day which my nephew organised. It was absolutely incredible. But let's just take it back to the 16th of May 2025. My mum had been in a hospital for a few days, and it was something that happened previously. Like she'd been in hospital and she got released, but this time she didn't tell anybody that she was going to hospital, which I also think was a little bit of a signal from her, weirdly in a way. Anyways, she'd been in hospital a couple of days. I'd spoken to her, and the 16th of May, I had spoken to her that morning, which just made it even more shocking. So I'd called her. I'd done the school run and everything. I think I was in the kitchen. I remember being in the kitchen, making. I remember being in the kitchen making food, and I called her to check up on her because she said that she told me the day before that she was getting discharged that day. So I phoned her, asked her how she's doing. She's cussing. She's like, I just want to go home. I haven't got time to be in this place anymore. She didn't really like hospital, so if I had to go to the hospital of her own will, we've had previous incidences where we've had to physically pick her up and take her to the hospital. So the fact that she'd even just gone to the hospital on herself, we were really proud of her for that. We were like, yes, we didn't have to force her, and she understands that sometimes she needs a little bit more help. My mum had a heart issue, so that day I'd spoken to her, and it was so funny because we got over the recent years, it wasn't something that happened throughout like my childhood and without life, like saying I love you after I finished a call. But that day and in recent years, we had started. That's how we closed off our calls. And that particular day, we had that conversation. We joked a little bit about something she was telling me. I can't even remember what it was now. And then we were hanging up the phone. I went, "Love you, Mum." She's like, "Love you." And we hung up the phone. And that was literally the last time I spoke to her. And I remember, I think it was around 11, 12 o'clock. So I was definitely in the kitchen making lunch. So it was around then. I'd gone about my day. I'd spoken to her. I'd spoken to my sister. And she was saying, yeah, Mum said she's getting discharged later on. I'm going to go and get her. I was like, okay, cool. I live 2 hours away from my mum, so I'm the furthest. No, I'm not the furthest away. My elder sister's the furthest away, but we're quite far away from where they live. So my sister who lived with her was going to go and pick her up later. So it was like, cool. Picked the kids up, done all of that. I was doing dinner. I was on the phone to my sister. We were just joking around, laughing, blah, blah, blah. She was saying she was just waiting for the call from Mum. So we were just having a normal little chat. It was just a normal Friday. It wasn't anything untoward. Hung up the phone from her, and I think this was around 5 o'clock, 4 or 5 o'clock. It was around that time, and then it was around there, about 4 or 5 o'clock. And then I remember my sister, she phoned me back like 10 minutes later, saying, "Oh, the hospital said." So a hospital phoned. Yeah, the hospital phoned. So this must have been about 4:35. 5:30, 5:30, I think, actually. Yeah. So my sister, she calls me back and she's like, "Oh, the hospital's been trying to get through to me, and they've said that I need to come up to the hospital." And I was like, "Oh, well," and she said that they won't tell me what's the matter, and she asked to speak to Mum, and they said she can't speak to Mum, and I was like, "Don't worry, I'll phone my elder sister. She only lives down the road as well." I was like, "You get to the hospital and I'll call our sister." So I called her sister. She happened to be on nights that week, and I just called her and I was like, "Are you at home?" It was lucky, for some reason, she had just woken up from her nap before she was going to go for nights. And I was like, "Oh, my sister's called, little sister's called. Mum's at the hospital. They won't tell her what's the matter," and she's panicking. She's like, "Cool, don't worry, I'll get ready, I'll go up the hospital." She goes up the hospital. Me, I remember standing in the kitchen, and when I hung up the phone to my sister, and I remember standing in the kitchen just praying, saying, "God, please make sure that she's okay. I'm not ready for this. I can't do this right now. This is not enough. Make sure everything is okay." And I remember saying that little prayer. And then it was time for me to go and get my husband from the station. So I was getting the kids ready, putting all my shoes on and everything. And I remember we were literally just about to leave to go, and then my sister called me back, and it's a video call to our sister group. And I answer it, and all I see is just like the top of her head like this. And then she just goes, "Mum's gone." And I was like, "What?" And then she said it again, and then my other sister came in, my elder sister who I had called to go, and she had said, "Sin," she's like, "Sin, where's your husband?" And I was like, "I'm just about to go and get him." And she was like, "Call him, tell him to get a taxi home." So I am literally like freaking out. I am in the hallway. I literally back up, onto the stairs and I sit down and I've just got this FaceTime on. Kids are like, what's going on? Tears are just down my face. My daughter's asking me what's happened to Nanny. Everyone's crying. I am just in absolute shock. I spoke to her this morning. What do you mean? And then obviously they're telling me what's happened and what went on in the hospital. And the only thing that I can be thankful from that was that she passed away in her sleep. But what I didn't really like is that she was by herself when it happened. And another poignant mark of that is that she passed away, I think, minutes, half an hour, no more than that, from when my dad had passed away as well, on a Friday night. And I was just devastated. So then I had to then call my husband and tell him what's happened. I've got my daughter crying. My son is sniveling like, Nanny's dead. But there's no emotion, and I can't even process what has happened. And I just remember waiting that anxiety-inducing time that I had to wait from that call to my husband walking through the door. I was broken. I couldn't even function. I was just sat on the floor with the kids just crying, and I couldn't process what I had just been told. And obviously then all the phone calls start and all of that, and my husband comes in and I'm just bawling my eyes out, and that's all I can do. And obviously we're trying to find out information and all of this. We've got my younger sister, my elder sister, they're at the hospital dealing with all of that. It was really, really hard that day, and I remember just thinking, I need to get to my sisters. I can't be here. This is not where I want to be right now. And that was like so hard. And I remember just pottering around and just like trying to contemplate, like I need to go and see my mum. And I remember wanting to go to the hospital to go and see her. By the time I got a taxi, because taxis kept cancelling on me, I live 2 hours away from London. I just wanted to get in a taxi. Finally got in a taxi, drove those 2 hours, and I just remember having my headphones on the whole way there, just crying and crying. I felt so empty, and I just kept praying and looking out the window because I could see the moon, and I just remember praying and just being like, I'm coming, Mum. And I was really scared because I knew that I was going to be there on my own. By the time I would have got there, it would have been about, I think, 10:30 or something like that, 11. And my sisters had left by then. My mum had died early evening, and by the time I'd got there, they sent me to the wrong place. And I'm just like, I just want to go and see my mum, and I'm trying to phone them. And luckily this really nice clerk in the hospital took me round to the ward where she was, and then they sat me in this little room. And basically just said that they'd already taken Mum to the morgue, that it's like not a really great place to go and see her and stuff. And I felt devastated because I had that whole 2 hours, I'd worked myself up to wanting to see her, knowing that there was no life left in her body, and she might not look like Mum, and she might be cold, and thinking all these things. I love a good murder mystery and like true crime and all of that. So I was just trying to prepare myself for all of that, and yeah. So I didn't get to see her. We went back to my sister's house. The house was just filled with people. Family had come over who've driven down, and they heard the news. They just drove down. It was just, it was a lot. And I just remember being surrounded by love, lots of people telling me stories about my mum. And then I stayed over that weekend. Just stayed over with my sisters and just trying to process it. And obviously people are just coming. And I just remember just being like, what the hell do we do now? And you don't really get time to process, because within that time I also had to start thinking about a 9 night, because in our culture, on the ninth night that somebody passes away, you have like a get together celebration. But because we knew that and you'd have that, and so, most people normally have that in their house. We did that for our dad. We had that in our house, in my mum's old house, and then we just knew the sheer amount of people. Because my mum used to always say, when we ever spoke about like funerals and stuff, she always say, "I'm popular, you know, I'm popular," and we were like, "Yeah, right, mum." But she was, so we knew that at 9 night was going to be massive, and also the ninth night fell the day of my son's birthday party. We'd already booked for it. We'd already invited everybody. Like, everything was set in stone. And then I was like, when we can't cancel, like, that is his first birthday party. We can't cancel that. So we had to then do the party. So 9 days we had to get a venue, get caterers, get drinks, like sort all of that out. I had to do all of that for the ninth night. I had to go do my son's party, drive 2 hours down, do all of that as well, then drive back home. Those first 2 weeks were just hell on earth. I hated it. I wouldn't go back for the life of me. And the only reason why I got through those 9 days was my sisters. We supported each other so much. We just were relentless with just holding each other up and just getting stuff done. Like, I was the one with the spreadsheet and the documents, like keeping tally of everything. Like, this is what we've done, this is what we've got to do next. Like, we just all our talents just got pulled together, and we pulled that off. And obviously mum's got resources, we pulled on those as well, and that night got pulled together. And then from that, it was the politics of when her funeral was going to be, because this person can't miss it, this person's going to be away. So we had to then schedule everything in such a short space of time, but also a long space of time, because she died in May and we didn't bury her till July. So it was a long, messy time. And in all that time, I was still going to work. The kids still needed to go to school. They still needed to have everything. And I was just functioning on just a blur, like, just get through it. I had a few days off. I think I had like a week or so off of work. And then I was back to work again and back in the office doing it. And that's the one thing that I really hated. I didn't want to go into the office because I was like, one, I had to tell, obviously, work what had happened the Monday after it happened. And obviously they were saying sorry and all of that. And I had that week off. But then I was just thinking about the process of having to come back, and everybody wanting to be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry for your loss." And I know it's all coming from a great, warm place. But I was just so overwhelmed with it all. And that was the one part I was dreading, because one, are you alright? And there's a tear. One thumbs up, like, was just, yeah, it would sent me over the edge. But to say that, I really just 3 months, I just let life be a blur. I didn't try to think about anything else. I tried to feel my feelings. I tried to just get back to normal, whatever that normal kind of looked like for me. And it worked to an extent. Like, I really pushed myself until until the 7th of February, when I was told categorically, no doubt, stop it. I was sent messages. And you can go back to a Cosy Comeback. It was about 2 episodes ago where I explained why I took a break, and that came to a head with everything that I'd been pushing back. So after those 3 months was a blur, I was like, right, let's get back on the grind. And I got back on the grind, and I pushed down all my feelings that I don't need to deal with this is fine. And there'll be days I'd have a cry, there'll be days I'll be fine, there'll be days I'll be snappy, there'll be days that I would be fine. Like, that's just how it went. I was riding the waves until that day when I realised that all I was doing was hiding, and it just erupted inside of me. And from that, I got therapy. I definitely feel like I should have got therapy months prior to when I got it, but there's never a bad time to get therapy. So that's the only thing that I can actually say, yeah, well done to me. Like, I took that step. And the first few sessions were so hard. I cried most sessions. I cried, but I worked through a lot of things that I was feeling, a lot of guilt that I was feeling, that I felt way more upset about mum than I did dad, and that I don't have any parents anymore, and having to come to that realization that, oh, the adult around here is now us, like, we're the adults, and I haven't felt like an adult for forever. Like, I feel like that I'm that young at heart millennial. That's what vibe I'm on. And when my mum passed away, it kind of propelled me into the adult version that I was possibly hiding from. And a lot has happened since my mum has passed that I feel had to happen without her, because she was always our crutch. And in this last months and the last year that she's been gone, I've really, I've delved in more to my faith, my spirituality. Like, I'm reading my Bible a little bit more, trying to understand what the word is, like, trying to understand my faith and where I sit and my understanding of it. And I feel that the more I delve into it, the more God speaks to me, and the more signs that I start seeing and I start recognizing, and I pick up on them, and I'm like, oh, I hear you. I take I pick up what you're putting down. Like, I get it. Like, I'm with you. Like, we're on the same page. And a lot of that has been, I think, because I've had no choice. Like, when I tell you, my mum's God was great, was big. My mum had the ultimate faith. I've never seen somebody so faithful. And then one of the questions that came up in therapy was like, who prays for me now? Like, I always guaranteed my mum to pray for me. And yeah, I'd pray for myself here and there, and the kids. Like, since the kids were small, we always have prayers and affirmations. Like, we do that regularly. But for myself personally, sometimes I feel like I've got that disconnect. And since my mum passed away, I've got to pray for myself. I've got to remember that her God was great and my God is great too. And I've got to tap in. Like, I've got to get locked in. So those are the things that have come out from it. And then realizing, like, where do I want to take my business? What kind of business owner do I want to be? How can I help women to be the best version of themselves? Like, and it's me stepping up in this space and in this era that I'm currently in. I'm in my bucket era. Like, there's no stopping me now. I will find the words. As long as I root everything what I'm doing back to God, I will succeed, and I will help the women that I would put on this assignment to do. So I've got to keep plowing through, even when I feel like nothing's happening. Like, my voice is getting stronger and I'm pushing through. So I've got to keep on going. But I've been rambling, and I want to wrap this up and, like, really just make you understand, right? I've taken from this that life is finite. I spoke to my mum that day. I thought she was coming from the hospital, and hours later she had died. And out of that as well, both of my parents never made it to pension age. It's not time to be relaxing. It's not time to put off things that you have wanted to do. Something that's been on your heart. Something that you've seen in dreams. Something that you know that you're good at, but you're letting fear hold you back. You're letting anxiety hold you back. You're letting what ifs hold you back. You're letting people that you don't give a eck about hold you back. It's time to say it's enough. When are you going to say it's enough? Because I hear so many stories about nurses and stuff who speak to people on their deathbed, and the one thing that they wish they did that they didn't do, they didn't live their life to the fullest. Like, do you want to be that person? You could literally drop down tomorrow dead. Did you make use of today? Did you have a great day? So many things that I do now. For instance, I used to really be upset about work and where I was going. And instead of doing that, I changed my mindset. I was like, no, every day is going to be a great day. What the hell can I do to make it a better day when everything just pees me off? How can I make it a better day? recently I started doing an I did it list. Like, I want to remember the things that I did, even down to the smallest thing. Like, when I'm so tired and I don't want to pick the camera up and I don't want to set up, I do it. I feel flipping great because I know I'm hoping that that one video is finally going to reach the person that is supposed to reach and help them. So I keep on showing up. So let me get my book before I keep on rambling. You don't get your homework, darling, because I know you're waiting for your homework. Okay, your question of the week is what I want you to start with, and it is, what am I afraid will happen if I succeed? What am I afraid will happen if I actually succeed? Answer that question. And for me, I've tried to turn everything into a positive. I saw a post in the new year about a Japanese ritual called the misogi. It's like they choose something hard that's going to take them an entire year to get good at. What is that for you? And what, it doesn't have to be get good at, but something that you're going to pursue that's really hard. And for me this year, I chose a triathlon. I am not a swimmer as in the slightest. I hate running, and I'm good at biking. I've got no problem with biking, but all three of those disciplines back to back to back. I started as a swimmer as a novice. I am now comfortably swimming 200 meters in a pool. I can go to the deep end and not be scared. I can tread water. 5 months ago, I couldn't do that. I'm currently running. I went for a run session today. I ran 2 sessions of 8 minutes without stopping. Do you know what an achievement that was? I couldn't even do 90 seconds in January. So what's the best that can happen? I learned to swim. I can run a 5K. I get really good at biking. I get really good at knowing what my body can do. I learn how to fuel my body. We have to really change our mindset. We have to think about what's the positive. For me, with Blossom Her Way, I want to run a successful wellness brand. What could happen if I actually succeed? Help thousands of women. I become a world-renowned wellness brand. I have financial freedom. I have freedom over my own time. I'm doing what I love on a daily basis. What's going to happen? What am I afraid that's going to happen? Am I afraid for all those things? It's time to up. I worked so much, especially this year, on my mindset. We really have to delve into our mindset. And I've got a great episode coming up about brain, what is it called? The neural parts in your brain, and how we'll get there. The episode's coming, but we're going to get a little bit technical so you can understand yourself. With mindset is so key in this. We always look at the worst that's going to happen, but let's twist that around. Let's let it spin the block. What's the best that's going to happen in that situation if you went all in and put everything behind it? What is the best that could happen? So that's not your question. Your question is, what am I afraid will happen if I succeed? And then the next thing I want you to do is, what is that one thing that you can do to get you closer to your dreams? So for me, with my triathlon training, I have set my swim session, my run session, and my bike session, and I do them every single week on the same day, at the same time. I know where I'm going to go, just like an appointment. With my business, I show up every single week to film Cosy Coaching. I can't batch create at the moment because of my schedule, so I have to show up on that day. I have to edit on a certain day because I want to post on a certain day. Like, you've got to get into that. What's the one thing that you are afraid to do that could just push you further? I get more confident talking on camera the more I lean into things that I love, what I'm really passionate about. And if that helped you in any kind of way, if you're going through any grief, and it doesn't have to be loss of a person, it could be a loss of yourself, a loss of a relationship, a loss of a friendship, any of those things, and not a physical loss, like the person is just no longer in your life, they could be still alive. All of those things, they are forms of grief, and you can take some steps in order to help yourself out of those things. Like that person that you let go that's no longer around you, were they just holding you back? Were they stopping you and blocking blessings that are coming your way? And sometimes you have to release people back into the world so that you can prosper in what you need to do, especially if they're bringing you down in any way. And do the homework, really look at yourself and understand what it is that you are afraid of, and how can you push yourself out of your comfort zone this year. And if you need to, I know it is May, you have still got time to set yourself a masogi. What is that one big thing that you can set yourself for the rest of the year, or even till this time next year, whenever you're watching this video, right? Set yourself a challenge and be okay with being a beginner and not being good at something, and just go for it and stop waiting, because time will catch you. The only thing that you can't refresh in this life is your time, and the one thing that is guaranteed in this life is death. Don't get to your deathbed and regret anything, because I for sure know that my mum lived a full and vibrant life, and she had so much more to give, but I think God called her back to him, because me and my sisters, we needed to now flourish in this next chapter of our lives, and we needed to overcome this in order to really get to the next step. So that's it for this week. I love you guys, and I really hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. And if you've liked this, I'm sure you have a friend that would love to hear this episode too. And if that can help them out, I'd love to have them join the party. So I'll see you on the next episode. Bye.